With Old Man Winter's icy rain returning once again, is your Subaru vehicle ready for the rain, wind, sleet, and snow that's about to descend on us for the next few months? Stick around and let's go over everything you need to know to get your Subaru ready for winter. So the first thing we're going to talk about is your battery and charging system. The cold is the natural enemy of your vehicle's battery. Well, the heat in the summer is as well. You always want to check your battery's health before summer and the heat and before winter and the cold. Batteries do not like extreme high temperature or extreme low temperature. If you've got an old or weaker battery, the winter cold snap can go ahead and kill it dead as a doornail. So better to check it now than be, a month down the way. You've scraped off the ice and snow off the windshield. You're running late for work already. You jump in the car, put the key in, go to crank it, and all you hear is a click. Your head slumps. You hit the steering wheel and say, "Why, Mr. Subaru, did I not listen to you and get my battery checked out before wintertime?" So first off, we want to do a quick visual inspection of our battery. We want to look at our battery terminals, make sure there's no corrosion, no buildup on there. If there is, we'll get a can of battery cleaner and spray that on there. It gets rid of any leaked acid or any corrosion. You can also use baking soda and water to accomplish this task. If you don't want to go out and buy the aerosol battery cleaner, you can also mechanically clean with a battery terminal cleaner brush, as shown in the video clip here. Now, once we know that our battery is clean and got a good connection at our terminals, we want to look at the age of our battery. Batteries typically last about 3 to 4 years. If your battery is past that age, you are on borrowed time, so make sure you check the age of your battery. Most batteries will have a sticker on them somewhere with a month and a year for either the manufacturer or installation date of that battery. Pretty easy to pick out. We also want to check the overall health and charge of our battery. We can do that with a battery tester. A carbon pile tester is preferred because it can actually put a load on the battery to test it, as shown in the video clip now. But you can also go and have this done for free without having to purchase a tool to do so at most of the major auto parts brands, Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, O'Reilly, etc. Most of them will test your battery and charging system for free in the parking lot. So go ahead and utilize that free service. If you happen to have a digital multimeter, you can go across your battery leads and check your static voltage. You can also check your voltages while the vehicle is running and charging. Now, this isn't an end-all be-all test. It just tells you if your voltage is right. You really want to get a carbon load tester to put a load on the battery, put a load on the alternator, and really test it strained with a load. Testing it unloaded is not a reliable test. You want to make sure that the system has a load on it and is slightly stressed to make sure that it will put out under pressure. So once you verify that your battery is not dying of old age, is not going to kill over at the first cold snap, has plenty of voltage, and your alternator charging system is working correctly, we can move on to our cooling system. So looking at our cooling system, our main focus is on testing the quality of our coolant in the cooling system. We will rely on a tool called a hydrometer. I don't have mine with me, but I will show you one as an example. And what you do is take it, you squeeze the bulb on top, suck some of your coolant out of your cooling system into the tester, and there's either a little float level needle or a variety of colored balls that float. And based on where they level out to, where they float, or where the needle drop points, it will tell you how low of a freezing point that your coolant is good for. So with age, mileage, and time, the coolant in your cooling system breaks down. The additives that are in the coolant actually don't work as well, and they don't protect your system from corrosion as well. They do not keep you from freezing as well, and they do not keep you from boiling over as well, so you have to periodically replace it. Now, if you have a 2005 or newer Subaru, you're going to be rocking the blue Subaru Super Coolant, which Subaru says has a lifespan of 10 years or 100,000 miles. In my opinion, that's a little long-winded. I recommend 8-year, 80,000 mile drain and refills on this coolant just because 10-year, 100,000 mile, it tends to slip the minds of owners. And thinking back to the 90s and 2000s when GM released their DexCool, aka DexKill, long life coolant with the same 10-year, 100,000 mile service interval. People forgot about it, didn't service it, and it was a disaster. Now, if you have an older Subaru, you're going to be rocking the older green glycol-based long life coolant, and that has a 3-year, 36,000 mile lifespan for drain and refill or flushing out. So you want to check with a hydrometer that your coolant is adequately going to protect you from freezing this winter, and you also want to make sure if you don't have a hydrometer, if you know the last time your coolant was replaced, or if you don't know the last time your coolant was replaced, now is a very good time to go ahead and do it. While you are replacing your coolant, while you are flushing your system, it is a great time to go ahead and replace that radiator cap and that thermostat. Both parts are extremely cheap, easy to replace, and will help prolong the life of your cooling system. So guys, while we're talking about the cooling system and coolant, we might as well talk about getting in your car in the wintertime and starting it and driving straight off. Do not do this. You need to let your engine warm up. I know a lot of people say that is going to the wayside, but that is a bunch of hogwash. You need to let your car warm up. You need to let the fluids get acclimated and warm up. You also need to let the engine warm up enough to warm that incoming air. You don't want to gun it with a cold engine, cold fluids, and ice cold air coming into the engine. It is not good for it. If you have a modern Subaru, when you start it up, you'll see that blue temperature light. Let the engine run until that blue temperature light goes off. That is for the best health of your engine long term. You don't want to jump in and let it run for 10 seconds and haul down the road when it's below 30 degrees outside. So moving on from the cooling system, the next thing we want to check is the tires on the vehicle. This is extremely crucial, critical, what have you, for you northern and Canadian viewers that see lots of ice, snow, and inclement weather during the wintertime. Now, it's not so much a big deal for me here in the South, but tire health is important no matter where you're at. Now, the first thing that you're probably going to notice as the days get cooler, you jump in your car, start up the ignition, and that big yellow light comes up on the dash, and you're like, oh no, I have a flat tire. Do not fret. Normally, it's just because of the cooler temperatures, thermal expansion, well, contraction, will shrink up the air molecules in your tire, lowering the pressure enough to throw on that check tire pressure light. Do not fret. Normally, that's all it is. So you want to make sure that your tire pressures are where they need to be. Now, where are my tire pressures located? If you look in the door jamb of your vehicle, you will find this placard, and it will show you the optimal tire pressure for your front, rear, and your spare tire. Do not forget about your spare tire. You always want to check the spare and make sure that it is adequately aired up. You don't want to have to worry with getting a flat tire, going to change it, and find out that it is slack or nearly flat. 60 psi on the Space Saver spares on these. Some of the Subaru vehicles will have a slime or fix-a-flat and air compressor fix rather than a spare, but you want to check that either way. Now, once we know that our tire pressures are correct and where they need to be, you northern and Canadian viewers getting snow and ice, I'm sure plenty of you know it's time to switch over to your snow and ice tires. Most of you have a second set of wheels and tires for your vehicle for the winter months that have a dedicated snow or ice tire mounted, normally on a steel wheel that you don't care about getting corroded and eaten up with salt and slag, to save your nice aluminum wheels or chrome wheels or what have you for the winter and spring months. So when you get those winter tires out, make sure you check them for dry rot cracks, make sure you check the date stamp on the sidewall, make sure you air them up before swapping them out, as depending on how you stored them in the off season, they could have deteriorated. So make sure you check those out before you throw them on the car and go barreling down the highway. Now, those of you that are going to put snow and ice tires on, the reason we do this is because they are a softer compound tire and they have a more aggressive tread pattern for gripping into the snow and ice, whereas your all-season or all-weather or Regular highway tires are a harder compound, and with the dropping temperature will actually get harder and grip less, so you want to switch over to those softer compound ice and snow tires. So also to keep in mind when we are checking our tires, checking our tire pressures, or replacing our tires for our snow and ice tires, we want to check over the entire tread pattern of our tires. We want to look for uneven wear. We want to look for any kind of issues that might be from a suspension or steering component issue. We don't want to go into the winter driving months that are already treacherous with wet roads, wet leaves, ice, snow, sleet. If we have a mechanical issue, if we had bad struts, if we've got worn ball joints, bad tie rods, or a poor alignment, those things will just make driving in a difficult situation even worse. So go ahead, eyeball that, look at your suspension really quickly, look for anything glaringly wrong, check your tires for any uneven wear, and get that corrected before it is time to drive in those really bad inclement weather days. Now that we've checked out our tires and we're ready to go there, another thing we want to do is check out our wipers and our washer fluid. We want to add a de-icer agent to our washer fluid reservoir, as we don't want our washer fluid to freeze in the jug in the event that we need to spray off heavy ice, snow, etc., freezing rain. We don't want wipers that aren't going to clear our vision when it's already a low visibility driving scenario. Make sure your wiper blades are in good condition. Make sure you have a de-icer or a winter blend of washer fluid in the vehicle as well to keep that windshield front and back nice and clean and clear and make it easier for you to see. So while worrying about getting our windshield front and back clear so we have a good line of sight out, we also want to make sure that we can see in darkness and inclement weather and be seen. So it's a good time to go ahead and check your high beam, low beam headlights, your fog lights, your turn signals, your brake and running lights, license plate lights, etc. Turn on all the lights, your flashers, everything. Walk around the vehicle. Make sure all your bulbs illuminate. Make sure everything that flashes is flashing. It's also a great time to go ahead and restore any oxidation or crusted over headlight housings, as that oxidation and crustiness on the housing reduces the light output of your headlights, high beam and low beam, and makes for a dangerous situation. So go ahead and clean them up, clear them up, or replace them if they're bad enough. Now with everything we've checked so far, it's time to dive under the hood and check all of our fluids, well, the fluids that we can check easily at least. When you pop the hood on your Subaru, nearly all vital fluids are marked in yellow, either a yellow handle on the dipstick or a yellow cap. That includes our engine oil, our coolant reservoir, washer fluid reservoir, brake fluid, and that's about it if you have a newer CVT equipped Subaru. Now if you have a manual transmission or an older 4 or 5 EAT conventional automatic, you will have a dipstick on either side of the transmission on that automatic. The driver's side will be for your automatic transmission fluid, the passenger side will be for your front differential gear oil, and if you have a manual transmission, you'll only have the passenger side dipstick for your manual transmission gear oil / front differential gear oil, all the same thing. So go ahead and check the level and condition of these fluids and replace or correct if needed. If your brake fluid is dark and dingy, time to replace it. Brake fluid should be clear to a light amber. Your ATF should be a red to pink color. If it's brown or darker or smells burnt, time to replace that transmission fluid. Check your engine oil. Hopefully you have a sticker or some way to keep up with your oil changes. Check that coolant reservoir, make sure it is where it needs to be, and make sure your washer fluid is filled up like we talked about earlier. So while you're under the hood checking all of these fluids, you might as well check your belts and hoses. Check over your hoses for any swelling, any oil contamination, any kind of crustiness at the end where your hose clamps are, any signs of leakage. Look at your radiator hose, upper, lower. Look at your ATF cooler lines if equipped. Look at your heater hoses at the back of the engine to the firewall. Make sure they are all in good condition. Make sure they are soft and pliable. If your hoses are hard, time to replace them. Check out your serpentine belt. Look for any raggedy edges, any blisters, delamination, any kind of wear there. Also, might as well go ahead and start the engine up and listen for any kind of squeaks or squeals in the belt system or the pulleys, tensioner, etc. So guys, we've checked basically everything mechanically on the vehicle we need to. We are rounding home base at this point, but one thing that a lot of people overlook is their exhaust system. You want to check your exhaust system because if you've got a hole in your muffler, a hole in your exhaust pipe anywhere, or a leaking connector in the exhaust system, there's a potential area for carbon monoxide to leak under the vehicle and find its way in the cabin. Now, if you are run off the road, stuck in a snowdrift, etc., you might continue to run your car to keep the heat on and keep from getting too cold until the tow truck can come get you or someone can come pull you out. But if you have a hole in your exhaust system, if you have leaks, running your car in that snowbank can cause carbon monoxide to creep its way into the cabin, potentially poisoning you or killing you. So check over your exhaust system, and when you are in this situation, try not to run your vehicle. If you must run your vehicle, crack your windows to have some flow of air. Make sure that carbon monoxide doesn't potentially build up in the cabin. So now that we've covered basically everything mechanical from the tip to the tail of your vehicle, the last thing we want to talk about is supplies, emergency preparedness, things to keep on hand in your vehicle. This particularly pertains to you Northern and Canadian viewers, once again, that do a lot of snowy, icy driving. These are things you'd like to keep in your trunk or in the hatchback of your vehicle in case of an emergency scenario. So this isn't a complete list. This is just some ideas of things that I think are essential for you to keep on hand. Those of you that are actual Northern viewers and in the snow, what are some things that you think are essential to keep with you? Leave it in the comments below to help others out. But I believe a blanket, either a big wool blanket or a small emergency Mylar blanket would be in order. Some little tea light candles, a book of matches or a lighter, some kind of non-perishable food item, either a pack of crackers or a candy bar, some form of hydration, whether it be bottled water, but you got to be careful with that because it can freeze and burst in the vehicle. So likely a refillable jug that you don't completely fill to the brim, so if it does freeze, it's not going to burst everywhere. And some kind of seatbelt cutter slash exit tool for smashing the glass to get out in case you're trapped or in a wreck. And a small lithium jump box, jump pack slash battery bank where you can charge your phone if you're stranded for an extended period of time, or, if you just get out there and your battery happens to be dead, you can jump start yourself and not have to wait for someone with jumper cables. So guys, there you have it. There is winter prep for your Subaru 2022 edition. I hope you enjoyed the video. Anything you want to add to help other drivers out, leave it in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you all in the next one.